Welcome to the DAZN Boxing Show presented by AutoZone. I'm Chris Mannix. He is the former junior middleweight champion, Sergio Mora. And Sergio, we have a good one in the super middleweight division this weekend. Diego Pacheco, one of the rising stars at 168 pounds. He takes on his most accomplished opponent to date in Marcelo Coceres. That's a fight you can watch here on DAZN on Saturday. And Sergio, let's start here. I intentionally called Pacheco a rising star because I don't exactly know how to classify him yet. He's 22, so he fits the demographic of a prospect, but he's ranked in the top 10 by all four of the sanctioning bodies. So technically, he is a contender. So let me ask you this. When you look at Diego Pacheco heading into this weekend, do you consider him a prospect or a contender?
This is an easy question to answer. A contender. He's a solid contender because he's not only ranked by all four world organizations, but he's getting better every time they match him up against someone harder. That's what you got to see with these young prospects turned into contenders. About the 15th fight, I like to say, that's when you branch them out and they get to find out if they could sink or they could swim. Coceres is another test. They've been moving, and by that I mean Matchroom Promotions. They've been doing an amazing job with Diego Pacheco because from his pro debut, Mannix, I didn't think much of him. Even his first couple of fights, I seen some things, but I didn't think he was going to turn into this. He's a legitimate top contender, and I would say maybe a future world champion once those belts get available, because he's not going to beat a Canelo right now. He's not ready. I don't think he beats a Demetrius Andrade. He's not ready. But the next in line, you know, absolutely. He's going to be right up in the mix, future world champion.
Yeah, I think he's a contender. Not just because he's ranked inside that top 10, but because when I talk to people like outside of the Matchroom universe, outside of the DAZN universe about Diego Pacheco, whether it's managers, promoters, other fighters, they say this kid is the real deal. And sometimes when you have outside opinions, oftentimes those opinions are negative. You know, managers don't have that guy under contract. Other fighters don't want to be too complimentary of a potential peer. But everyone I talk to believes that Diego Pacheco is a legit future world champion. I think he's not almost there. He's getting there very, very quickly. I love, to your point, how Matchroom has matched him over the last couple of years. Look at his last two fights. 2 fights ago, he headlines over in the UK, fights a guy named Jack Cullen. Not a world beater, but tall, rangy, good jab. That was one style for Pacheco to get used to. Knocked him out with a body shot. Last fight, he fights Manuel Gallegos, who is pure pressure, physical. Took the fight to Pacheco, landed some big shots, made Pacheco fight off his back foot for some of that fight. So that was a good learning experience for him. Pacheco ultimately got a 4th round knockout there. So he's been able to experience a lot of different styles early in his career. And I think he has been benefiting greatly from that experience. The other thing I love about him, he's a body puncher, Sergio. Not a volume body puncher, but knocked Cullen out with the body shot. Knocked Gallegos down with the body shot. That left hook to the body from Diego Pacheco is starting to become a big-time weapon in his arsenal. So yeah, while I agree with you, I don't think he's ready for a world championship fight yet. Maybe won't be ready till the tail end of next year. He is a full-blown contender. So that brings me to Coceres, who, like I said, most accomplished guy on Diego Pacheco's resume, former world title challenger. He was a round and a half, Sergio, from beating Billy Joe Saunders back in 2019. He knocked down Edgar Berlanga in 2021. He was 1-2 last year, but both those losses for Coceres came against undefeated fighters. So take that into consideration. In fact, 4 of his 5 losses have come against undefeated fighters. What kind of challenge do you think Coceres is going to be for Pacheco?
A big one, because this is the type of guy that's been in there with the top level opposition and big fighters and big punchers. You said it. Saunders, he went 11 rounds with in a fight he was possibly winning.
He was winning.
Yeah, well, there you go. He was winning. And then he got stopped in the championship round, so he wasn't ready for that. Against Berlanga, a big, strong boogeyman at 168, he was able to drop and hurt him. He had him on Queer Street in that round, and if there was 10 seconds more, we would have been talking Coceres upset of the year. That's the type of fighter, because look, the thing about Coceres, Mannix, is he doesn't come to win rounds. He comes to win the fight. He'll hang in the pocket. He'll move around the ring. He'll get angles. He'll time you, and then he's going to look for that overhand right. Another thing is Coceres knows how to throw that right hand straight to the body. So tall fighters like Pacheco that are 6'4", that's exactly what you have to do. You got to stab them in the gut. That way they start bending down, making themselves smaller. That's when you can come around the guard and over the top with lefts and rights. Very sneaky fighter Coceres is, and he has power. So he has a little bit of everything, and he's this close away from being a world champion. One upset away from being a world champion. Diego Pacheco's not on the world championship level, but he's being set up for it. This is a perfect opportunity for Coceres and Pacheco. That's why it's a hell of a matchup, a hell of a fight, and we'll be there.
Yeah, I like the selection of Coceres for this fight. It's a different style than what he's faced. And that has been the philosophy of Matchroom in recent fights, to give Pacheco different looks. So while he had kind of a tall, rangy guy in Cullen, he had a physical guy in Gallegos, he gets a little bit more of a crafty guy in Coceres, who's on the smaller side. Coceres only about 5'11", 5'11 and a half. So that's going to be an adjustment for Pacheco after facing guys that were right around his eye line in the last two fights. And I agree with you. I think Coceres is going to be, very difficult to track down in this fight. He's going to throw punch from angles. He's going to move a lot. He's going to have kind of a do or die attitude, because for Coceres, this really is do or die for him. He started out his career 28-0-1. He's 4-5 in his last 9 fights. He knows at 32 years old, this is probably his last chance to put himself on that world championship level. So I think you're going to get the best of Marcelo Coceres, who got a comeback win back in May as he prepares for this fight. So he's going to be reasonably sharp headed into it. I just love the potential challenge that's out there for Pacheco. I think he eventually gets to him, because I think Pacheco, his power is legit, and I think he's going to wear Coceres down in those middle rounds and get a stoppage. But Sergio, I think this is exactly what Pacheco, who's still just 22, I think it's exactly what he needs at this point in his career.
Power is not going to be enough. Like I tell you every other episode, power is not going to be enough. Berlanga had the power. Berlanga had the size, but he couldn't track.
Yeah, but Sergio,
hold on,
don't you think isn't this a different kind of power? I think Pacheco's got a different kind of power.
He's a smarter power puncher, because he knows how to set up that rangy power behind a jab. He knows how to cut off the ring in a smart way. Berlanga didn't use the jab. The jab was null and void. He was just following around Coceres. Diego Pacheco cuts off that ring. He makes it smaller and smaller, but he does it behind a jab. He guts him down to the body. Like you said, body shots. Where were the body shots with Berlanga? This is a perfect opportunity for Pacheco to prove not only that he deserves a fight with Berlanga, but he's probably on a higher level than Berlanga as far as being evolving into a world champion. I mean, they're bound to meet, but right now, Diego Pacheco can make a statement against a guy in Coceres who Berlanga struggled against.
You know what I like about Pacheco too, when I watch him on film? He is a tremendous distance fighter, right? Like he keeps guys at the range that he wants them in, and he never, or rarely I should say, smothers his punches. He's able to keep them exactly at the distance that he wants, and that's where a lot of his power comes from. He gets full extension on all of his punches, including the body shots. That's why I think his power is on a different level right now than what Edgar Berlanga is on, at least at the 168-pound division. So he's got Coceres here, and let's not dismiss this challenge. It's a big-time challenge in front of him. But he gets this win, he's going to move up in the rankings even more. Maybe he's top 2 in the WBO, top 5 or 6 in all the rest of the sanctioning bodies. What is he ready for with a win on Saturday night?
Chris Mannix, first of all, I got to congratulate you on your last statement there. You sounded more and more like me, so my education and knowledge is rubbing off on you. Good analysis there. But who do I think he's ready for next? I think with a big win, a name like Munguia, who's now a 168-pounder. I think a former champion like Caleb Plant is right. I think a former title challenger like John Ryder will be right. I mean, there's a lot of Derevyanchenko. There's a lot of big names that he could be ready for. It's the next step after a title challenger. These are perfect fights, and on paper, I mean, they're a fans with something they want.
Yeah, look, all the fights you named, I'd love to see. I don't see any of those fighters getting anywhere near Diego Pacheco, because right now Pacheco represents too high a risk and too low a reward. That doesn't make him unique. We see that all the time in boxing. So I don't see the Berlangas, the Munguias, the top guys at 168 who can make good money fighting lesser opponents. I don't see them going anywhere near Diego Pacheco. But there are some good guys that are potentially out there. I'm going to give you 4 of them right now. How about Diego Pacheco against Bektemir Melikuziev? How would you like that fight, Sergio? A fight between two big punchers at 168 who both want a pathway to a world title shot. Eric Bazinian, undefeated guy at 168. He's been eyeballing a title shot. He's right around Diego Pacheco in the rankings. Patrick McCrory, he's ranked in the top 5 by one of the sanctioning bodies. I love him as a potential opponent. And Ali Akhmedov, who has picked up some good wins over the last couple of years, including one against Gabe Rosado. Those are 4 guys that I think are more realistic at this point for Pacheco, because they'll be interested in the payday that comes with fighting Pacheco, whereas Munguia, Berlanga, forget Canelo and those guys, I just don't see them being interested just yet.
Yeah, I like those 2 fights, and they're easily opponents that can be made considering they're matchroom fighters. So Akhmedov will be a hell of a test. I mean, Akhmedov, I would say no, but he's already been, beaten. So yeah, that's a good one. And Bektemir, he's already been beaten. Actually, he's already been stopped. So yes, I like both those names, and good job on the matchmaking there. Because look, I'm thinking for championship level. I'm thinking someone like John Ryder. He hasn't really reached the championship level, but he's competed on the championship level. That's another name that could easily be thrown in the hat.
Yeah, I like John Ryder too. I just think John Ryder is going to be looking for a Berlanga type fight. He's going to be looking for a Munguia type fight. He's going to be looking for a lot more money and a lot more potential reward, because right now at 22, even though we both agree Diego Pacheco is the real deal at 168, I just don't see those top guys getting in with them. But he is in the perfect position, Sergio. He has been active. He is fighting the right fights. He's ranked highly by all 4 sanctioning bodies. If he gets by Marcelo Coceres on Saturday, 2024 could be a big year for Diego Pacheco, to the point where we could be talking in early 2025. If Canelo is still around, if he's still fighting at super middleweight, we could be talking about Pacheco-Canelo in 2025 if he keeps this up. So first test, Saturday, Marcelo Coceres. Next ones, they could be even bigger.